Hi guys, it's Blackie and Bear, and this is what? Old Wayz, what we gonna call it?
12B or 13?
I ain't superstitious, we just call it 13. I do not suffer from triskaidekaphobia, which is the fear of the number 13, so.
Me either.
So we'll just call it number 13. And you guys in your response, see if we need to stop for your phone call.
I'm expecting a very important phone call.
If it is, I can edit around it, don't worry. So, several of you have asked us to talk about, we've talked about off-gridding, having cabins and stuff like that, about how to outfit such a cabin. Okay, you found your place, we've already talked about that. Now how do you want to outfit the cabin? Or is it even going to be a cabin? I've talked about, having a pre-set up poles where you can just take a tent and put that up. Or is it going to be like a pole barn where we just put the poles up and put a roof on it and just have an open space underneath where we could pitch a tent or etc. Or on down to where it's an actual freestanding cabin of some form. Okay. Water source. Go ahead.
It could be just a slab where you come in and bring in your camper and park it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a viable option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having just put you down a concrete slab or some sort of slab and have you hook up where you could bring in your tow behind or whatever and set it up. Or maybe you got a camper shell on your pickup truck and you want to set up. Let's start with that. The idea of having like a pickup truck camper or some small camper. You're going to want a chuck box. And this chuck box should have whatever the cooking components you're going to need. So a pot to boil with, a frying pan, some sort of little bitty pan, maybe a coffee pot, etc.
You gotta have a coffee pot.
Gotta have a coffee pot. And then you're going to need a small assortment of spoons, forks, table knives, that type deal. I typically, for this type of thing, stay away from having to do a lot of processing at camp, unless it's going to be a hunting camp. Do your processing back home. Go ahead and cut the chicken up, whatever. Cut the steak into the size pieces you're going to grill, whatever. Put them in the Ziploc bag and put in the cooler so when you get there, the preparation time's done. Things like go ahead and make your salads up, dice up vegetables, whatever. Do that at home before you come out. So when I get there, it's much more streamlined and easy. Cooking method. Are you going to be using a fire pit? Therefore, good time to clear out and put in a fire pit. Rock in a circle. A rebar that's been heated up with a torch and bent over and made into a set of fire irons. Right. Already put in the ground and left. If you go down and get those, it's the rebar with the flat piece on it. You nail in the ground and put wire to go around goat pens and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I can't think of what you call it.
There used to be a name we call those, but just get them and pre-nail them down in the ground, and that way you've got a fire iron set, crossbars to hang pots on and stuff that's permanently there, and nobody's going to steal it because it's just a piece of fence post. There's nothing of any value there. But when you come out to hang pots and stuff, bring out your own escapes and things like that. So I could build a fire. You're going to want to have a firewood pile, but that in itself can cause problem because if you've got nice split cordwood, somebody's going to want that. And so if you don't have easy access into the land or something where you could put cordwood out there against a tree next to the site, great. Put it up off the ground, put a tarp over it, cheap camo tarp or something, and when you get there, uncover it slowly to make sure critters hadn't moved in, and you'd have your firewood, and then resupply it occasionally.
Also, whatever you choose to leave, be able to live without it. Okay, don't leave anything out there that you cannot live without. Because it's like we said in the last one, you will be found.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, but somebody will find you or your site, and somebody will help themselves to whatever is there. So whatever you choose to leave, be able to live without it.
Go by the Goodwill or garage sales or whatever, pick up your pots, your frying pans, stuff like that. Something that you don't miss from the house. One of the biggest things I've seen is where you've got this favorite frying pan and they want to take it everywhere. They want to take it to camp, they want to take it to whatever. That doesn't work real well because the ones at the house have a clean level that's different from the one that's been cooking on a fire. They're very sooty. And so to take it back home requires a lot of cleaning to get it ready to go back on the stove at the house and not put smudge rings on the counter when you sit it down and stuff like that. So like you say, go by Goodwill, whatever, pick up your pots, your pans, your whatever.
Little housekeeping note, it's what I do to my mess kit. If you will take a basic soap like Ivory, you can take it and you can scrub it on the back of it and along the sides, and it will form a layer of protection, and when you get home you can wash off 90% of the smut and soot that's on it. I mean, that's why my kit looks as good as it does. Now it's got spots, you know, you can't help but get some, but you know, you can actually prevent it from looking like something that you picked up out of a mud hole last Tuesday.
Yeah, that's true. But so you got to have your cook set. Now, if you're having a permanent cabin type deal, you're probably not going to have electricity. And I do not recommend leaving some sort of power system out there like solar panels or whatever. That's just asking for it to be stolen. Having one of those portable batteries like the Blue Eddy that I've got and etc. with a solar charger is a great thing to transport out there, where I can run whatever devices require me to be able to plug in, like lights, stuff like that, and then during the day they will be charging in the sun. I mean, that's very viable and a very easy way to do it, and then take that home with me whenever I go home, not leave that out there.
No.
Yeah, don't leave anything like that.
Also, you can use a conventional generator, a gas-powered generator. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt to load up, take out there and unload, but you know, it can be worth its weight just to do that, depending upon what your personal needs are.
And how much sound you want to put out, because the sound of a running generator is like a lawnmower. You can hear it quite a ways off, and so you're also attracting people that go, well, you know, they never heard a lawnmower running down here in these woods. Suddenly you got a generator that'll attract attention. So one of those power cells is an advantage in that, especially with solar power.
Very much so.
So you've got that. Now water, being able to carry water in is probably the way you're going to be doing. 5-gallon buckets. Usually, now in some states it's illegal. If you have a pre-set up roof or whatever, catch water off the eaves and put in the 5-gallon buckets. Those will be used for not necessarily drinking water, but clean up water, whatever.
Gray water.
Gray water. A good friend of mine, he had 5-gallon buckets and had water would come off the eaves of the house, and it went into it, and he took pantyhose and would stretch it over the top of the bucket. So it would catch leaves, stuff like that, and keep bugs out of it, but at the same time it would let water pass through it. And so the water was relatively filtered when it got to it. And that way, whenever he was going to be cooking on the fire or whatever, and he needed emergency firefighting water right there, if he needed to just clean off the bottom of a pot, he had water he could dip out of, that type of deal. And so that was a real advantage to having that. Transporting your water in and out, a couple of 5-gallon cans is not that big a deal, depending on how much you're going to need. In several of my camps, I've done it where I've hung up the 5-gallon can on a tree right there at the campsite, so you can just walk over and hit the tab and dispense water one-handed, not have to pick it up every time. That's a pretty easy way.
In one of the about mid-level videos one of the mid-range videos we did, 8 or 9, I showed a blue water tote that I picked up at Walmart. It's I think 7 gallons, but you know, if you have 2 of those, 3 or 4 people can operate very comfortably, and they don't take up a whole lot of space.
All right, so you got food, you got water, you got your some sort of shelter, lighting. Coleman lanterns are fantastic at projecting light a long way. Battery-powered lanterns today can give you a lot longer lifespan. I personally carry these little bitty one, the Vaunt light, that will give me 30 hours of run time on 3 AA's, and then the lid carries 3 more. So I got 60 hours of light on that little bitty lantern. And it's more than enough light around the camp to see what you're doing, and then save the super bright light for when I really need to see right here. You know, save the power of that. So I can leave that little Vaunt light sitting there running all night in the middle of camp, because quite often it's a hammock camp. So me, my wife, whatever, get up during the night to answer nature's call or whatever, you got light to see. And you can kind of dim it down. Something like that works very, very well for lighting. Battery-powered fans. If you're in a hot environment, you can endure the heat mostly during the day, but when you lay down to go to sleep, you want some air moving around you. So on them battery-powered fans, again, something you can plug into that power cell that you recharge during the day. Those would be a real asset. In the winter, having a big fire pit, if you're camping outdoors where you have good sized fire for warmth, if you've got an enclosed, having one of the small wood stoves. There are tons of videos on YouTube about setting up a wood stove, but realize when you do that, you're going to have stove wood, which is smaller sticks, about the size of the biggest piece you're going to put in there in diameter should be about the size of an egg and about that long. It burns better. If you start putting great big pieces in there, it kind of smothers it, and so small pieces burn better. That's the reason they used to say there was cord wood and split wood, and there was stove wood and things like that because of the size of it, and designate that out, what you're doing for it. Plus the fact having, you're going to be bringing in your bedding, etc. How are you sleeping? Is this going to be a hammock camp? Is this going to be where I'm bringing in cots or some other bed? Am I going to put a queen size inflatable mattress on some sort of platform and inflate it up, carrying a pump that I can plug into my car or into that power cell? Would be a real advantage then, and that's the way to go. Medical, always have a small medical kit with you, like we've talked about in the past, something to buy you time to get you out of there. So you got food, you got water, you got shelter, you got sleeping position, outhouse. Yeah. Okay, outhouse. If you're going to be using a latrine, be well away from water. You don't want to be anywhere near within 50 yards of a creek or something like that because you can contaminate the water. You want to move uphill. I recommend digging the hole and putting some, if it's going to be a one use where I'm going to dig this hole, we're using it for this weekend and I'm burying it. Bring some quicklime with you. And so after you've completed your task and your deposits, shake a little quicklime over it, and when you're done for the weekend, bury it. Put fresh dirt, put the dirt back in the hole, stomp it flat, and move on. If you want to build a permanent outhouse, many places do not legally allow outhouses anymore, and you're just going to have to find out what it is in your area. But in that book that I had mentioned by J. Wayne Fears, Your Dream Cabin, he deals with the thing about it. And what he did was he used he's here in Alabama. He used the Alabama blueprint for an outhouse that is used in all the state parks where they're using outhouses. And his argument was, if it's legal for the state to have an outhouse, then it's legal for me to have an outhouse. And if they say, no, you can't, well, then the state can't either.
Right.
because I'm using their exact diagram and all the components, including the stainless steel seat that they're using. So,
Also, and we've talked about it before, I'm almost sure, but if you have a 5-gallon bucket, you can take a large trash bag, line it, and then take you a pool noodle. I'm sure everybody knows what a pool noodle is, and cut it so that it fits around the top of that bucket. That will make you a temporary place to take care of your business. And that you can pull the bag out, tie the bag off, and transport it back and put it in your trash can at home.
what I did in one of my videos, I talked about it. It was a thing that they sell at Walmart. There's a toilet lid with a seat that snaps onto a 5-gallon bucket.
I've got one in my kit.
It's called Luggable Loo, L-O-O, Luggable Loo.
Yeah.
So what we do is I take a 5-gallon bucket and I spray it down on the inside heavy with some sort of cleaning spray like Clorox or Lysol, something like that. Then in the bottom I put several folded up tall kitchen can bags, good name brand bags, and several pairs of gloves. Then you triple bag it. Put the tall kitchen can bag in, fold it over, one inside the other for triple bag. Then you snap on the lid. Then you get clumping cat litter. Put about that much in the bottom of it and have another coffee can full of it for you to shake it, or another container or something about that size to shake over the top of your deposit. I also carry another one of those plastic coffee cans, and that's what the toilet paper goes in, because you got that snap top lid to keep the toilet paper from getting mushy in the humidity, or it gets damp, or whatever else. Rain, whatever. And so I can take
Nothing spoils the morning like a wet roll of toilet.
Oh yeah, that just makes your life difficult. But now whenever you're done and you're ready to end the weekend, you put your gloves on that you brought separately from what's underneath. You snap off the lid, you spray the lid down with Lysol, take disinfecting wipes, clean the lid, lay it to the side. Now take the outermost bag, the one that you've been depositing in, just fold it over and let it settle to the bottom, and take the next bag, which would be the middle bag, fold it up, pull up the tab, lift it up and out. You still got a clean bucket. Now pull 2 more clean bags out from below, triple line it, snap the lid onto it, and then that clumping cat litter is no problem. You can then properly dispose of it. Note I did not say find some gas station and throw it into their dumpster. I said dispose of it properly, okay? But it can't leak because the liquid, so if it should, God forbid it gets turned over, there's no liquid to go anywhere. And it's just cleaner. We've used this system for over 20 years, me and my wife camping. When we're doing a big wall tent or something like that, it just makes her life so much easier to have her own private potty. But now, okay, lighting. Any kind of lights you want to do at such a cabin, battery powered if you want to. You can have string lights that are hooked to that big power cell or whatever, or run on a separate power unit. That's fine.
Coleman lanterns.
Coleman lanterns are good, but they generate a lot of heat. That might be a good or a bad thing depending. Never use the Coleman lantern in an enclosed space. It'll use up oxygen. So don't do that. Don't put it inside your pickup truck.
No.
Do not put it inside of a tightly sealed up, storage shed that you've got out here to be a cabin. It will use up the oxygen and give you problems, so don't do it. And,
If you do use it inside your cabin, be sure you turn it off before you go to bed.
and make sure you got plenty of air vents.
Yeah.
If you're getting a headache,
Go outside.
Go outside, turn it all off, because if the fumes are building up to the point you're getting a headache, you've got a problem.
Right.
And so having a carbon monoxide detector, especially if you got any kind of wood stove or anything like that, have a carbon monoxide detector in there. As far as wash facilities, that's easy to set up. You can either get a solar shower. My favorite form of shower for this type of thing is I just go get a garden sprayer, because I can fill it half full of water and then heat water in a coffee pot or something like that and add to it to make it as warm as I want it. Then screw the lid on and pump it up and have a hot shower to spray me down with.
There is this thing called a solar shower that is a plastic bladder. I believe it holds somewhere between 3 and 5 gallons of water, but it has a shower nozzle on it. And what you do is you put it on the hood of your truck and walk away and just let it warm all day long. And in the evening when you get ready to shower, you just hang it up, open up the valve on the shower spigot, and do your thing.
A warm shower can be attained by getting some of that black visqueen plastic and making kind of like a teepee. Just make you a tripod that's about 8 or 9 feet high, maybe about 10 feet high. Wrap that black plastic around it, make you a door, and then hang your shower in there. If that's out in the sunlight, even in the dead of winter, it'll get nice and warm in there. Just a little stool in there and some sort of mat on the floor to keep your feet from getting muddy. Fairly effective way to have a shower. And when you're leaving, just take the portable thing with you and just leave the visqueen plastic teepee. I mean, what is there to steal?
Really, we can sit here and we can talk for the next couple of hours about what would be good to do. But look at your needs. Look at your requirements. And this will have to be tailored to you. We know what we need. We've got what we need, but we don't know what specifics you require. So if you will just sit down with a piece of notebook paper and write down what kind of shelter do you want. Do you want a dome tent from Ozark Trails, or do you a four-wall do you want a 4-wall tent from Panther Primitive? There's a significant price difference between those two. And you need to determine which one you want. You may be like a lot of folks I know that they like to go camping, but they want to go camping in a camper where it's got an enclosed shower, it's got an enclosed living room, it's got a big screen TV. It's got all the little amenities.
It's got a propane stove.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got an inside and outside propane stove.
Rig for lights.
Yes. And it's good to go. All you have to do is just roll it to where you want it to go and, roll the awning out and you're in business. You need to assess that. And then, do you have any specific dietary requirements? Well, just plan out your menu and, sit down with the wife and the kids, because the kids are going to want things that you may or may not necessarily want. You need to include them, because I promise you, a 10-year-old will make your weekend miserable if they're not at least halfway enjoying it.
Yeah.
Bring activities for them. Bring snacks for them, but itemize what you want. Your cooking set. Completely agree with what Blackie has said about if you intend on leaving it, go to Goodwill and get the stuff. Get the $2 skillet. If somebody comes in there and takes it and goes home with it, you're out $1.50.
Yeah.
That's not going to make or break you. Your silverware. Throw a couple of boxes of plasticware into your chuck box, your food box, and you've got stuff to eat with. Don't necessarily have to wash it.
Garbage. Be sure to set up garbage bags and
Yes.
have it where you bring it out. Don't leave it.
Tote your garbage out with you.
And don't leave anything there, like, if you're gonna put foodstuffs and leave them there, like coffee, sugar, whatever, go get you a military ammo can and put it in that, because trust me, the bugs will find it.
Right.
The weevils will find it. The roaches will find it. They got nothing but time. And if they smell it, they're going to find it. And put it in a plastic, it's sealed up in a plastic container. Will not slow a mouse down for nothing. He'll find a way. And so you need to have a metal can to seal it up in.
Right.
There's one of the reasons why Grandma and Grandpa had them metal canisters that sat up on the counter, remember? They had flour in it and everything else. They had big old screw lids on them. There was a reason for that, or big old glass ones.
Yes.
So nothing could get into that.
Gosh, I had a thought and I lost it. Oh yeah, washing. What we did in Scouts was we had tubs, and we would have our cookware in one tub. We would have our eating ware in one tub, and we would have a small container in one of those. What you want to do is put water in them when it comes time to set up your cleanup area. Put water in one and some soap. Put water in another one without soap, and in the little one, put water with just a couple drops of Clorox. And then when you get ready to wash, heat up your water, pour it into the buckets, you wash in the soapy, you rinse in the middle one, and you sterilize in the third one. It's quick, it's easy, and it's very efficient. When you get done, you pour out your water, it's just water. In some, don't just dump it off the table, but take it off to the edge of the woods and dump it. And then, turn the container over and let it dry. When you get ready to leave, just take it and fill it back up with what goes in it and load it up.
Yeah, the transporters, we used to use the plastic cat litter tubs because they had snap-on lids, and it was better than a round bucket. And we'd use them. We'd put, it's not lukewarm, but it's not boiling hot.
Right.
But it was, hot water, and that's what first one was your wash. You'd sit your stuff in there and cover it with the hot water and let it sit there 10 minutes. Then you go back and you clean it, and then you put it into the rinse water, which was the middle one. Then you put it in the third one, which was your sterilizer.
Right.
And then you pull it out and have a drying rack. It's something you can lay it on and let it dry a few minutes.
Or just a dish towel on the table.
Yeah.
It's like we've said from episode 1, this does not need to be complicated. It will be just as simple or just as complicated as you make it.
When you get there to set up, how you pack your vehicle makes a huge difference. You need to set it up in the order you're going to need it. So it's last thing in, first thing out. So let's say I want this table, okay? I get to camp and I want to open the back of my vehicle and pull out this table first to set it up, boom, and then the next thing comes out goes here, the next thing comes out comes here. And so the table is going to be where most of this stuff's going to end up, right? We're going to be eating on this end, and this half up here is all the storage. So therefore, the table needs to be the first thing coming out of my vehicle, not buried in the back.
Right.
So I don't have to handle it 2 or 3 times. I want to, last thing going in before I close the door on the truck, coming out here. When I open the door, it should be the first thing I need that's going to come out, and it's the most important thing I need to set up first. Right. So and you get an order of operations set up like that, and that's how you see these people. They set up a camp in 15 minutes and they're done. Grouch. Oh my God, I learned so much from that man. We'd be setting up a camp and he'd say, well, that looks good. And we'd go down there and went, okay, and say, I'll take these 2. And I'll take these 2 trees. It seems, I swear it's like I just take my pack off, tie it to the tree, turn around, he's already sitting there, got his pipe out, everything's set up.
Coffee's on the boil.
Coffee's on the ball. I mean, he ain't been here 60 seconds like he's done. You know, and he had his full camp set up, and I'd spend 2 hours getting that thing set up, my camp set
Well,
up.
in his defense, he was a professional camper.
He was a professional boy. He'd been a scoutmaster and he'd been a Marine,
Yeah.
and he knew how to organize his gear so that it went boom, boom, boom in order, and he set up. So when you're setting up your homestead or whatever, set it up like that, where the things that are going home come out, go in the vehicle. The stuff that's staying here, it goes into these. I recently did the video talking about caching. So here in this corner is where my platform is going to be, that we're going to be putting up our tent and tarp and etc. I already got a rope up that I'm just going to sling up my tarp, and I've got poles cut. Well, my cache won't be right here. It'll be on the other side of the field over here. Someplace I can get to easily. And that's where my cooking pots and my stuff like that's going to stay over there. So that, okay, we're done, we're packing up. I go take the stuff, go put it in the cache, come back. We pack up what's left so that when I close the door on the truck, we're completely loaded, time to leave.
If this is going to be a place where you're just going to come in on Friday afternoon late and play for the weekend and go home, you may or may not want to cache. If this is going to be a destination spot, like an evacuation destination or a bug out destination, then yeah, caching would be good because you're going to have long-term supplies there, and you will not be drawing any attention by having this trailer piled up, you know, double high with all the stuff that could have been cached.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the buckets, the food buckets that you see, they're sealed up tight. They're food grade. There is really no reason why you just couldn't dig a hole and stick the bucket itself in, and do like you said in the video, put some rocks around it for drainage.
Another great thing is if you look at some of the pet stores, they have these cubes with a spin-on lid.
Right.
That is ABS all-weather plastic. It's food grade too, because you got to have dog food in it.
Right.
And a lot of people get it and you can put a 50-pound bag of dog food. Well, you bury that down where it's just the lid sticking up. And like I said, then you cover over top of that with some folded up tar paper and just kick some leaves or pine straw over it. And when you get out there, you pull the tar paper away. Make sure there ain't no critter under there waiting on you. And then just unscrew it and reach down and get your stuff out. No big deal.
Right.
Pretty easy to do.
Let's see, we've covered lighting, we've covered food, we've covered caching, we've covered fixing, figuring out what you want to.
Bedding,
Your bedding.
wash stations, outhouses.
Yeah. When I was working in Eufaula, the last year that I was up there, I commuted. I have a small teardrop camper that is just big enough for me and one other person. But if you're not, with my teardrop, if you're not familiar with one, all it is a full-size bed with a set of wheels underneath it, literally. Mm-hmm. And now mine's a little different because it's got it's wired for lighting. It's got a conventional air conditioner in it, and on the back it has a clamshell galley. So I could pull into my campsite and set my stuff up, get my tarp out of the truck, and I had one of the freestanding ones, those 10 by 10 freestanding ones. I could have it up and my air conditioner running inside the camper in 10-15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I had a table. Of course, each campsite has its own table, but I had my table where I would put my cleanup station, where I would have my whatever I needed. I have a nice Orca cooler that would keep things, and I use the gallon ice jug theory. Take 2 of those, put one at each end of the orca, put your food in the middle. You're done. You'll have ice for 2 weeks, or an igloo, whatever you happen to have, or what's the big fancy one?
Yeti.
Or if you have a Yeti, you may have ice for a month. Who knows?
Yeah, big money Yeti. Anytime those people, and I want to touch on this right quick, the manufacturers are always trying to put forth the best possible scenario. So when they say, oh, it'll hold ice for 5 days, is that 5 days in Nome, Alaska, or 5 days in Death Valley?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you from work crews here in Alabama, at the height of summer in Alabama, the best Yetis packed with ice at 7 in the morning won't have any ice in them by 2 p.m. because they're sitting in the back of a pickup truck in 160-degree heat in the back of that pickup truck.
Well, you know, when you see these guys that are like linemen and things, they've got the orange and white igloo the water cooler. They don't put any liquid in it.
Just put ice.
They just go in and fill it up with ice first thing in the morning, and then by 9 or 10 o'clock, about half of it's water. And if they've got Gatorade or something they want to mix in, then they'll go in and dump all that stuff in and stir it up.
Yeah, just pack it solid full of ice by time. Well, guys, I hope that answers some of your questions. We could go on for hours, but the bottom line is, it's what are your needs? Boy Scouts, look at Boy Scouts about how to run a camp, how to make chuck boxes, how to have cooking sets, how to cook on a fire. Look online, there's lots of books and stuff like that on how to be the cook. But practice all recipes at home first. If you don't like it at home, you sure ain't gonna like it out there. And
That's a guarantee.
guaranteed, because you're already tired and you're bug bit and you've got a sunburn and you just want something to eat, and this sounded so good in the book and it ain't. And so it always try everything at home first.
There is a couple things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chuck boxes. We skipped across that a time or two. For those of you who are not aware, if you've ever seen an old Western that involves a cattle drive, you have what's called a chuck wagon. And on the chuck wagon on the back, there's a tall box that sits there. It's about, I don't know, it's as wide as the body of the wagon, and it's probably 12 or 18 inches deep, and it's usually about 3.5 to 4 feet tall. It'll have a table the table is used as a covering, but when you unhook it and you let the box, open up the box, that becomes your table and your work surface. It's got a leg that comes out and holds it up, so it's steady. And then all of your stuff is contained in the box, in drawers, or in an open bay. That's what we're talking about when we say chuck box.
If you look at Cowboy Ken Rollins,
Yes.
he recently rebuilt his chuck box.
Yes.
And you can get an idea about it. And Boy Scouts use chuck boxes, the Scoutmasters would, because it was something where I could keep all my pots, my pans, my aluminum foil, my stuff in one box with all my spices, the cooking oil, everything.
And it's all self-contained.
It's all self-contained, so I come out and it's either got legs or I'm sitting it on this, whatever, and I open it up and there's my surface to prep food and everything else.
Right.
And it's a real good idea.
You can take them and you can make them conform to the back end of your pickup truck, and just slide it forward in the body of the pickup truck till you get to the tailgate. And when you unhook your door, bring your door down, it lays on the tailgate or across the tailgate, and is also your prep area. And then, of course, with a traditional chuck box, your pots and your pans are here on the bottom because they're the heaviest, and then you go up, you got your plates and your forks and your spices and your seasonings, things like that.
We built, back in the rendezvous days, we were camping out in a big wedge tent.
Yeah.
And wedge tent's got plenty of headroom, not a lot of wall room. And so on that old Chevy pickup truck of mine, I went and built 2 boxes. The boxes were 18 inches deep and 4 foot square. Okay? I would stand the box up in the bed of the pickup truck with the door open and stack into it all the smaller stuff I needed to camp.
Right.
Actually, back that up. You'd go up to the empty pickup truck bed, and I took a piece of 1/4-inch plywood that I'd cut to a certain size and slide that in the bed first and set it down. Then I would stand this first big box up in there, and I'd stack all my loose camping gear into it, and I'd close the box. I'd then slide the next one in with it open, and I'd load all my camping gear into it, and I'd close the box. Whenever we got to camp, I would slide it back to the tailgate and open it up, and I'd pull all my stuff out, and I'd take the big box out and set it on the ground. I'd slide the other one back, I'd open it up, take everything out of it, take the box, put the 2 boxes side and side, and pull the plywood and throw it at the top, and that was the base for the bed. All storage stuff went inside the boxes, and we had an air mattress went on top. And so the 2 boxes transported in that open pickup truck, because I didn't have a camper shell on it. And it allowed me to carry all my gear out of the weather, you know, getting from A to B. And then when I got there, the boxes converted and became the bed. So me and my wife had a full-size bed to sleep on, and then we just set the tent up over the top of it. So you had a full-size bed inside that tent. And that was always thinking, how do you build a bed that's not going to be rickety or whatever? I built boxes and put it on top. Well, now the boxes are hollow, and so any storage that we needed, where you get there and you pull the cover off your fire irons, that went into storage, you know. And I pulled my Dutch ovens out of the tub. Well, the tub went into storage, and that kept the camp cleaned out, and it kept you off the ground, didn't have bugs, stuff like that, and it worked out well. Though when we quit using that system, I put both those boxes on my back deck, and my wife put plants on top of them. It's just a plant stand. And I'd open the door up and put a couple shelves in it. And a good friend of mine said, you know, that won't last a year. 12 years later, of it being in the outdoors continuously, 365, 12 years later, I did a bonfire and burned them. Finally, they were still functioning, you know. So, yeah, you can get gear that'll last a long time if you take the time to build it.
Yeah, building it is important, because, you know, you can go to Walmart or Academy or wherever, and you can throw some money down on the counter and walk out with a container. But if you go to the store, to the lumber yard, and you look through their wood, and you select the wood that you want because it's got a nice grain to it, and it's, you know, you look at it, there's not a lot of holes in it, there's, you know, knots and stuff in it, it lays flat, you know, you've got your hands on it, you have a tactile, you have a tactile connection to that wood.
If y'all ain't figured it out yet, he's been wanting to build a new chuck box for about 2 years now. And so I done touched on one of his favorite topics, and so now he's already, you hear the gears grinding over there.
Guilty.
So you're gonna build one.
I'm gonna build one.
We ought to do that for your channel, as you build a chuck box.
Yes, that is on my to-do list. But you know, you take your woodworking equipment, whether it's hand equipment or power equipment, and you shape it to your needs. Mm-hmm. Thomas Jefferson had the largest library in the English colonies, and he had a portable bookcase, and what it had, it was just a wooden box that was about, I don't know, maybe a foot square and about 4 feet long, and it had a hinged lid that when you opened it up, it slid down inside, okay? And you would set the bookcase up, and there your book's already displayed. And you've got your door opened up and pushed in.
It basically was like a single shelf out of a bookshelf.
Yes.
So you could just pull your book straight out the front and be able to pick whatever you want, because he never knew what he was going to want to read today.
Yes.
So he traveled with a bookshelf.
Yeah, he traveled with about 6 of these boxes, but my point's this. It had a little rim around it that you could set another case on top of and open it up. And then you had 2 shelves, and you could stack it up, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep, depending on what his needs were. And following along what Blackie's saying, you can build your kit for your camp or your bug out, like Thomas Jefferson's library, and you can put your pots and pans in this one, and you can put your spices and whatever in the other one. You can put your towels and your
bath salts and
housekeeping
stuff,
kind
yeah.
of things. If you choose to sleep in a traditional bed, then with a roll-up mattress, put your linens in there. And
Go back and look in the early 1900s, and you'll see that those people that were doing camping, because camping was a new thing at that time. Before that, people were camping not because they wanted to camp, because that's what there was.
it's just what you did.
That's how you went from A to B, was you camped at night. There wasn't any hotels or stuff available in most places, so you just found a place side the road in somebody's field and you camped. But Ford and them, when they first brought out the Model A and the Model T and all like that, they really kind of pushed the idea of camping. And so you see camp boxes show up where these boxes convert to be a table. These boxes convert to be a bed, be a bookshelf, be whatever. A thing I have mentioned in the past was something I built for Living History, is I built 2, what we call 5 board boxes, and you take 1 by 12s and shelving, and you make a box out of it. I think my boxes were 30 inches wide, and I had the one at the foot, and it's got the hinge lid that goes this way, and then I had an identical one at the head with a hinge lid that goes that way, and then on the side of them I had a 2x4 that came up, and I had a carriage bolt and wing nut that went through the sides of the box, and I could open up the box, get inside and tighten up the wing nut. And then I had a canvas cover that went over the top of that locked in and made the bed. So to transport it, I had a pair of lawnmower wheels that would fit onto one of the boxes. I would anchor the 2 sideboards on, slide the other box all the way down against it, run the things to anchor it, and then I would pick it up like a pair of hand trucks and roll it to where I wanted to be. And then I'd sit down and move that box down to the end. So I had box, and the space in between, that wide, on those 2 bed rails, the canvas went over and laced it. I had holes, and I had a heavy piece of canvas for grommets, and I just chased it through right quick, tied it up. And in 10 minutes, I had a raised bed with 2 end boxes for my gear. It was rather fancy for me, but it was something that was very comfortable and quick to set up.
On our scouting chuck boxes, we had a bracket on both sides of the box that was built out of 2x4s. And we had 4 4-foot section of 2x4s cut on an angle that would fit up into the bracket, and it would form an A-framed leg on each
Whole
side.
box up about 3.5, 4 foot high.
Exactly. And that way you don't have to tie up your table surface putting your chuck box on it. If you need the back of your truck, you don't have to put, you got legs to put your chuck box onto, so it's freestanding.
The bottom line is, anything's possible given enough time and resources.
Right.
Find out what your needs are. address the needs. Always be looking to upgrade and improve and make your life easier.
One thing we did not touch on is your level of ability. Do you have somebody who has a walker? Do you have somebody who is on crutches? Do you have somebody who is in a wheelchair?
You got to set up and address to that.
Those are things that you have to address, because you can't just run off into the woods with a backpack with those kind of folks. They have to have your consideration.
Word another. Okay, guys, well, that's it for this time. Appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave any questions or comments below, and we'll be doing another one in the near future. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie and Bear, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.